Welcome to Let's Chop It Up. We're doing this subject that we're going to tackle today is dealing with single parenting, but we're going to do it from a different perspective. We're doing it from a father's view. So today we have two guests that are on. Terrell, who's a single dad. We also have Pastor Daniel, who is a single father. And then we also have Rashawn as our co-host. So as we get ready to start this segment, I want to just say that to both of them that we have on as guests, been knowing Rail for a lot of years. I've been knowing Pastor Daniel for at least since we've been here in Bakersfield, California, for about a little bit over a year or so. Got to know Pastor Daniel since we've been in the area. So let's get ready to get started as we talk about this topic of single parenting from a father's view. So let's take it to the table and let's start to chop it up. So welcome, gentlemen. Welcome to Let's Chop It Up. Welcome, Rashawn. Always good to see you back on the show. But I do want to start off with you, and I'm gonna put a question out on the table to either one of you to answer. What's some of the challenges of being a single dad? What are some of the challenges that you faced being a single dad? Anyone of you want to start?
I'll go ahead and start. Yeah. Thanks, Pastor Steve, for having me. One of the challenges as a dad was that as being a single father is that I grew up without a dad, so to know how to be a dad was difficult for me. All I knew is that when I first got my son, he was his mom had left him. Me and his mother had split up when he was about 11 months old, and I hadn't seen him. So whenever he comes to live with me, he calls me when he's 11 years old, and I didn't want, and I knew one thing is that I didn't want to abandon him like I felt. So I didn't know how to be a dad. All I had father role models, which were the wrong role models. So all I had was just what I knew, what I knew, and that was But that was one of the big challenges. Is I didn't know how to be a dad yet. It was I was a pastor at the time, but I didn't know how to be a dad. I was just trying to I didn't have this other side where it says that this other side where I can love my son and everything. I was learning, so it was kind of like we were growing and learning together. I wasn't didn't have a home at the time, so you could say I was kind of homeless. So that was a big challenge to take on a responsibility, and you're homeless. You're sleeping on couches, of your family members and stuff like that. And so I was homeless. I was barely, trying to get myself together, spiritually. So that was one of the bigger challenges to me. But I knew I had to jump all in and just give it my, So, but that was one of the biggest things is that I didn't know how to be a dad.
Yeah,
I didn't.
Yeah, and then also, when you say that, even when I got married, I was in the same boat because I didn't have a father in my life that taught me how to be a dad. So even when I got married, I went through that same thing about, when you don't have the example in front of you, you only work with what you got. So I truly understand that. Terrell, you want to add anything to that?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me also. One of the biggest challenges that I had with being a single dad was actually learning how to accept both roles as the nurturing side and the provider protector side. That was a tough thing to jump into with not having to do it until I had to do it. Right. And just similar background as Pastor Dale, growing up not having a father in the household, just growing up in a single parent home, I knew what it was to take care of siblings, but actually to take care of, I had 2 young daughters. So to be a girl dad on top of that, that was a challenge within itself. Just coming from a man's perspective, raising girls, it raises its own issues and challenges within the realm of being a single parent.
So, and I know as Pastor Daniel and Terrell, when you first stepped into this role, what kind of help did you get? Did you get help from family? Did you get help from others that were around you? Or Did you just continue to wing it for a long time till you got it, kind of got it on track? Or was there others that stepped in and began to help you as you went along?
Well, I definitely had help from family members. My mother has been a tremendous help, and just based off the way that I was raised, I was always taught it takes a village to raise a child. And my village has been outstanding, with my mom and my brothers and sister and uncles and aunties. It's been a collective effort from everyone that's helped me along the way.
I think for me at first, it was one of those pride things. When I got him, I knew like Terrell said, it's like one of those things you don't know how to do until you got to do it. But as far as the help, we had people that were, helping us as far as, okay, you could stay here, for a while. And, but I think for the first, until we ended up getting our own place, I thank God for those people that, said, hey, you can stay here. But I think part of me had this thing where, I'm going to do this on my own. And so I had this thing where, I'm going to do it. I'm going to work. I'm going to provide for him. I'm going to be his mom and his dad. I ain't going to let him down. And right. that part of me just kicked in. Like, I'm not going to fail him. I can't. I didn't have, I felt like I'm not going to let him down. I'm going to, we'll wake up in the morning to walk him to school, whatever. So as far as helping, I believe that there was family there to help. But and a part of me felt like my family wasn't, they were expecting me to fail in a sense, like I said, I didn't know, I couldn't even take care of myself at the time, and so I felt like, what, I got a lot to prove, and especially not just to them, but to my son, I want to be here for him no matter what happens. We're gonna stay together, and I'm gonna do the best we can, and that's pretty much. But as far as the family, it wasn't until 3 years ago that I just started, I knew they loved him, and they started helping him. And as far as, being that other part, that, the aunts became mothers to him, and became a mother to him. He'd go and, hug, because I knew he needed that mother, in his life. But so as far as support, I believe our church family pretty much has always, gave us that support that we needed. He has a lot of brothers and sisters in church that, just always loved on him. Hey, how you doing, Jeff?
Yeah. So that at any point that either of you find it, how do I say, difficult, just being a single father, in the sense that because you're a father, and a man, in the sense that people just expected that, oh, you got this, you don't need, let me back off. You're a man. You got this. You can do this. Oftentimes we see with single mothers, you do have a lot of people who immediately rush in to help and, build a strong village and support system and things like that. Did you ever come to a point to where, you felt like, people were looking at you as a man, like, not fully, how do you say, extending a helping hand because of that stigma of, the man he's got this?
I have, but at the same time, I'll tell them in a minute, I need help. I ain't too proud. I'm not too proud. I'll be honest, and I'll be upfront with you. I have a better appreciation for that word single parent now. Just, growing up, I seen my mother do it, and I salute her and take my hat off to her. She made it look so easy, especially with 3 boys and a daughter. But now I have much more appreciation for those single parents. It's a task, it's a task daily, and it's not easy at all, and it's a lot of the little things that, as men, we see women do it, but we don't really understand the day-to-day that they go through until we actually have to start doing it. From getting up, just preparing breakfast and getting dressed, and school and homework and school meetings and practices and all of those things, so I don't mind. I help right here. I need it.
Yeah, and And I'm
one of
sure
the things
for you
that I had to learn. I had to learn to, like, you know what, it's okay for people to help. You know, it doesn't make it doesn't, you know, that whole pride thing had to go out the door, and it's okay for people to help. It doesn't mean that, you know, that I was weak or wasn't able to do it. It just, but that was one of the things, like I said, I had to learn. I had to learn to say, hey, you know, hey, can you, you know, help me here? You know, or can you take me one day or whatever, you know. But I had to learn that. That's true.
And I know for the both of you, it's probably some things are different because, as Terrell said, he has two daughters, and Pastor Daniel had the son. So I know sometimes is, you know, I know for me it was always when it came to my boys, you know, it was like, okay, you know, there's certain things that you got to do with the boys, then there's certain things that you got to do with the girls. So I'm wondering, like for Terrell, so even like you talked about getting ready for school and stuff like that. So how did you do the challenges of getting hair ready, doing these things that normally that's what mom does? So how did you begin? And I know you're a barber, so it may have been a little bit easier on the hair stuff for you, but those type of things, how do you? And then I also know for you, as your oldest is now teenager now, right? So there are some things that you are going to do that's going to be different than what Pastor, because his son is 18 now, a teenager as well. But there is that difference. So what are some of the challenges as a man with the girls that when getting them ready for school, having conversations, because I'm sure at her age now it's going to be boys are going to be talked about and things like that. So how do you navigate through that part?
First and foremost, it's a whole lot of prayer. It's a whole lot of prayer. But you know, you really just have to sit down and try to come up with a game plan and strategize on just how you're going to go about doing certain things. You can't wing it, because if you do, it throws your whole day off and everything's out of whack, and you know, it's just hard getting back on task. So, you know, my daughter being 15, she's a tremendous help when it comes to the early morning preparation for my baby girl who's 8. She helps out a whole lot when it, you know, the hair and getting her, you know, dressed and all the lady hygiene part of the day. She helps out a whole lot with that. But, you know, just strategize and come up with a game plan on how you're going to tackle the day. One of the things that I actually picked up from you at one point, on Sundays, we get school closed out for the week. And, you know, that's one of the things that I got from Pastor Steve when he used to talk about just preparation and, you know, trying to get your schedule underway. You know, you prepare on a Sunday for the rest of the week, and whatever you pick out, that's what you wear. It don't matter the weather. You just switch it up with Monday. You may switch it up with a Wednesday, but you still have your clothes out for the week. So just strategizing and game planning, it helps out a whole lot.
Yeah, because that was my thought on, you know, you're a girl dad, and you know, my hat is off to any single father, because that's a rarity, right? Most people, you know, they think single father is a unicorn term. It doesn't exist, but there are single fathers out there. There are men who step up every single day to take care of their children when, you know, the mother is not in the picture anymore. But I wondered about that, you know, being a girl dad, because I have 2 girls, you know, my oldest and my youngest are girls, and then my boy is in the middle. And I don't know, for me, for girl things, you know, there's days I look at my wife and I'm like, what did I do? I don't understand what I did wrong. You know, I don't understand the situation of what's happening here, right? Even with the 3-year-old, I'm like, I don't know what happened. You know, she loved me 5 minutes ago, and then now, you know, it's get away from me, daddy. So, you know, to do that, you know, mostly on your own. And I know your mom's there, you have family there, but, you know, to do that mostly on your own, man, I could not imagine. Because I know what it's like for, you know, like I said, with my girls, and even for me, when my girls were, you know, younger, and even now, like I don't really bathe my 3-year-old, because that's just not my thing. My son, I took care of a lot of his hygiene and things like that. So, you know, having to deal with that, man, you know, for both of you, it's tremendous to do that, you know.
Right.
Yeah, because, you know, when I look at when having my wife in the house at the time, as our kids was growing up, there was a part of me at a certain point in my life where I seemed like as the boys got older, I could always relate. But it seemed like with the girls, as Rashawn is saying some things, as they got older, I wasn't understanding, some of the things that was going on with them. But I had my wife to lean on to help me, and as Rashawn says to Terrell, hats off, because that is a big challenge when you're trying to adjust. I mean, like Rashawn said, I remember my youngest one at one point, I could hold her hand taking her to class. Then it was, Dad, don't hold my hand. Then it was, Dad, don't walk so close to school. Drop me off at the corner. And it got further and further away. So, those are some of the challenges. And I know, like, for you, Pastor Daniel, with a son, there were still some things that a son still has to learn from a mom. He still has to have that mother figure in his life. And there are still some things that both parents pour into the child. So therefore, that void that you had with the son and the mother relationship, and I know you said later on family came on and started hugging on him, mothering on him, and things like that.
Yeah.
So, but it took a while before you got there. So what did you do in the meantime? How did you handle that? If you knew, was there ever a time that you just sensed that he was just missing his mom or something like that you had to deal with?
I knew he was missing something. I didn't know what it was because, I was more, like I said, I knew he was missing something. One thing I always made sure to let him know is I would let him know that I loved him, just let him know I love you. But always mention his mom, but I don't know, for some reason, he would never open up to me. He came and he was really quiet, really, really quiet, but he would never really open up. So as far as that, there was a void there, but I would notice that whenever we would get around ants or something, he would just hug on them. He would hug on them like he just wanted to be hugged by, by his aunt, or he would just, here he was, 12, 13, 14 years old. Even now to this day, if you ever look at Jake in church, he's just hugging on his aunts, you know? So I know he does. I know there was something missing. What did I do? There was nothing I could do. I would just try to, be his dad and love him. Because like you said, a man, I didn't know how to feel a woman's, my mom was my mom and tried to be my mom and my dad, but that doesn't, so me, how did I do it? I don't know. We just kind of I took him around family, but I think that's something that he does miss, and it did leave him a little, I don't know, how women show a man, how to be affectionate and stuff like that.
Right.
And this might, I was more disciplined and structured. That was the way I kind of, we ran our home, and like you said, we put out the clothes, make sure you're ready for this, be ready be on the truck by this time. I got to be somewhere. I got to be at work at some. But as far as how did I do it? I don't know. We just like I said, a lot of prayer, a lot of prayer. We just trusted God in that one. I said, God, you got you not only got to help me, but I never let him. I on one day, I don't remember this, but I wanted to make sure that I let him know that it was all right to cry or to be hurt. I never tried to be also prideful where I wasn't going to let him, let him. And I remember one day there was one day I just I told him I loved him. We had rotten milk one day, and man, that broke my heart. I told God, man, you didn't bring me this far if I can give my kid rotten milk. We didn't have a refrigerator. I mean, I can go on, man. That thing will just. We didn't have a refrigerator. We used to have ice. Like I said, we were barely getting started. And I remember crying out to God and just telling him, man, you didn't bring us this far to let me give my kid rotten milk. I kid you not. Within a day, we had 2 refrigerators in that house. It was like somebody said, well, why didn't you just ask? Why didn't you just ask for that? And I was like, that was, like I said, that was that thing. Okay, let me ask. And, we need help.
So but for you, part of it was, now I know like where Terrell had said, he was like, hey, help. This guy need help.
Yeah, this guy, yeah.
You had to learn how to ask for help from other people.
Exactly. I did. I had to learn that. And God had to really break me down on that, It's like, it's okay. It's okay to ask for help. I'm sending people your way to help you. And here I am. I'm like, You know, I got this. But, you know, it took time for me to learn that, you know, that it was okay.
Yeah. So the other, what should every dad make sure to tell his son or daughter when the mom is not present? What are some of the things that every dad should tell them? You know, I wasn't a single dad, but I know there was my oldest son. His mom was not in the picture, but there was still sometimes I know that he still desired to have that relationship with his mom. And there were some times that, you know, I kind of did like my mom did with me. My biological father wasn't around, but my mom, one of the things she never did was she never badmouthed him. You know, she always, you know, she left it up to us to learn. She never bashed him. She never did anything, even though he wasn't in the picture, he wasn't supporting us or anything. She never bashed him. And even in my son's case, even though his mom was not doing anything to support him or anything, I never bashed her. You know, I kind of did the same thing, like where, you know, he will have to learn on his own about, you know, what's going on. But did any of you ever run in? Well, Terrell, I know your situation is a little bit different than Pastor Daniel. Because and if you don't mind me sharing, Terrell, I can, because I want to try to distinguish why I say the difference. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
So with Terrell, he became a widower in 21, where for Pastor Daniel, I know you and your son's mom separated, so I know there was a difference there. So that's why I was just saying I wanted to distinguish the difference on, because Terrell's was definitely, you know, sudden, unplanned, and, you know, because before he had to help meet there that was doing all these things, and then all of a sudden things shifted to where he has to do all this now, which is, you know, it was a sudden shift for him, where yours over time, you know, your son came and then, you know, he was there, you know, and then now it was sudden for you at that point, because now you have to do everything. But I just wanted to kind of distinguish when we're saying, because there's some questions that I'm asked that was like, when it comes to co-parenting for you, Pastor Daniel, did you ever have any issues with that you had to battle through? Because I know for me with my oldest son, I went through a lot because I actually gained custody of my oldest son, but I had those things that I had to deal with the mom, and it wasn't always easy dealing with the mom because I had full custody of him, and she was upset that I had full custody of him. So it was a difficult thing for me to maneuver through. I did have my wife to help me through those. Did you ever face any of those, Pastor Daniel?
You know what? No, when I got him, he pretty much, he came on an airplane. I sent for him. He called me one day out of the blue. I hadn't talked to him for 10 years, 10, 11 years. He calls me out of the blue, says, I want to go live with you. And I'm like, well, you know, hold on. Let me talk to your mom. I hadn't talked to her either in years.
Right.
She goes, yeah. I go, well, call me in a week. And you know, and if he still wants to come, well, then I'll go ahead. You know, it gave me time to process what was going on.
Right.
And I was like, what do you mean? You know, he wants to live with me. I mean, does he know my situation?
Right.
And sure enough, you know, within that week, he calls me back, a week exactly, says, hey, yeah, I'm ready. I said, well, you know, send me his birth certificate. She goes, no, you got to get all that. He had a paper. I bought him a plane ticket. I picked him up at the airport. Me and my mom went and picked him up at the airport. Mind you, I didn't even have a car at the time. Picked him up at the airport, brought him back to Bakersfield, and that was it. And so as far as the way he got with me, he didn't want to call his mom. He didn't want to talk to her. And even to this day, it was just very recently that he really even started talking to his mom. But I would always tell him, you know, your mom loves you. You know, you want to call her? No, I'm okay. Yeah. His mom would call him. He wouldn't want to talk. Me and her never had that communication. There was no you know, he was old enough to talk. Me and her never talk. There was no bickering. There was no nothing. It was like, here's your boy. Yeah. Take care of him. Yeah. And that's kind of, you know, and I'm like, you know, so I was, like I said, I'm all right. I got to do what I got to do. Yeah. But as far as, you know, any challenges with co-parenting or anything, I didn't have those. It was just, I felt like it was just all me and Jesus raising my son. Yeah. For real. That's, you know, that's the way it's always been, just me and Jesus. we're gonna do this together, right? And he said, yeah, we're gonna. I'm like, all right, we're gonna do this. You know what I mean? Yeah. But as far as, you know, and I think in a way that was kind of, you know, a blessing, because I know a lot of kids, you know, are torn between two parents fighting over the kid, and you know, and the kids end up feeling like a yo-yo, or I don't want to say this, or I can't, you know, go here, or, you know. So, but I never had that challenge. And as far as letting him know, I always let him know his mom loved him, whether he didn't want to talk to her or what. And, you know, so there was I think in 5 years, he might have spoke to her 3 times. 10 minutes, I'm like, here goes the phone, man, call your mom, you know, and come back, she didn't answer, you know. So it was just one of those things. He's still to this day has never opened up to me about why or anything. I just left it alone, because I noticed that it would put him in a down state whenever he spoke, you know, whatever. So we just try to keep him happy.
So I have to ask this question, because my wife said I need to ask you guys this question. And Pastor Daniel, when he heard her say, he said it was a good question. So I got to ask both of you this question. The question is, what is your biggest challenge at home? Is it cooking or cleaning?
Let Terale answer this one first.
Neither one of those are really a big challenge. I'm the oldest of 4. So, you know, growing up, I had to take on that role a lot, being raised in a single parent home. So that's really not a big challenge. Mine is more so just building that bond and that relationship with two young girls in the house. The cooking and cleaning part, that sort of comes easy. I've gotten used to that. But just building that relationship with 2 young girls. And I know Pastor Daniel at one point had said that he was the disciplinarian in the house with his son. It was the opposite with me. You know, I was more of the come in afterwards, play the referee, make sure no headlocks wasn't in there too tight at the moment. And, separate everything from going on. So, you know, just building that relationship to where becoming all of those roles has been my biggest task.
Yeah.
And I understand, like, because, you know, like you said, being raised, because that's probably another topic that we can talk about, being raised with a mom raising us boys into men. That was one of the things that my mom had always instilled in us, was about the cooking. And plus, mom was normally out. We had other siblings. So you learn how to cook, you learn how to clean, you learn how to do all those things. And I know that for my mom, it was one of the things that she instilled in us, that if you know how to do these things, if I'm not around, you can take care of yourself. So okay. Those were the kind of things that my mom had instilled. It's like with sewing and all those things I know how to do, because that was something that my mom made sure that I knew how to do. So with the mom teaching us those things on what to do. Okay, dads, what are you teaching yours to make sure these are some of the things that you need to know how to do?
Right. You know, for me, Pastor Steve, on that cooking and cleaning thing, it was cooking for him. You know, I'm a grown man, but I wasn't picky. You know, I was, you know, making, you know, jailhouse food. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So yeah, literally, you know what I mean? I would, you know, and I was making him eggs and, you know, soups and all kinds of other stuff. And then I come to find out, I was like, you know, like here, you know, I'm get up in the morning and making breakfast and stuff. And he was really quiet when he came. He wouldn't say, like, this man would say about 3 words throughout the day to me. I mean, this went on for like months. Right. And then finally one day I said, he started saying he wasn't hungry. And I was like, well, you don't like it? He goes, wow, I don't like eggs. And I'm like, well, why didn't you say anything before? You know, I've been feeding him eggs for months. I didn't know he didn't like eggs. I didn't know he didn't like this. You know what I mean? So anything I would cook, he was just eating it just because he had to. Right. But, you know, so it was the cooking thing at first, you know, because I really wasn't making, you know, 3 or 4 course meals and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. We were just, you know what I mean? But it wasn't until later on, you know, to where I got a little more comfortable cooking. You know what I mean? But the air fryer was our friend for years. You know, burritos or whatever. The air fryer was the thing. You know, it was easy for him, easy for me. You know, we weren't going to burn anybody's house down or the apartment complex where we lived. You know, we did a hot pan and an air fryer. You know what I mean? We stayed away from the stove. You know what I mean? but that's the way we did it. You know, I was showing them, you know, 100 ways to make, you know, potatoes and eggs. You know what I mean? You know, but that was the way we did it for a while,
Yeah.
But
then
we made,
you did what you had to do,
yeah.
But I guess looking back, you probably would have said, maybe if I would have asked him.
Yeah. And I may have asked him, because you're right. I just got in there and started cooking. Like, here goes breakfast. Everybody likes, eggs and bacon.
Right.
I didn't know he didn't like eggs. Even to this day, he wants something. No, he won't eat eggs.
Right.
He just,
right.
That's not his thing. Yeah, I didn't know that. But as far as the cleaning part, we've always worked, run a tight ship.
I think that's a dad thing though, to just jump in and do it, because I do it with my kids. I just jump in, do stuff, and then my wife will come down. She's like, "What are you doing? Who's that for?" "Oh, it's for the kids." They don't eat any of those things. What do you mean? They don't eat any of these things, and I'm present in the home. What do you mean they don't eat? They don't like, this one doesn't like this one. Well, how do you do that? She's like, "Well, did you ask them?" "Oh, no, I did. No, I made breakfast."
Right. Eat this. Here you go.
Yeah. So, gentlemen, look, I like this conversation that we've been having. And again, hats off to both of you for, the things that, and I know it's probably a whole lot more that we can talk about. And we may come back and talk some more, because I want to make sure that we talk about some more things about, single fathers that have raised or are raising kids. And I want to go back and I want to talk about some more things. So I would like to invite you both back another time, and we'll probably do another segment where we're talking about some things like education and some of the other challenges and things that you may have faced as a single dad, because you're still, not only that, you didn't just become the single dad, but you're still juggling work. You're still juggling other areas. I know one of the questions, if Rashawn would just ask the one that he talked about if you needed assistance from the public, I guess, Rashawn, if you want to ask that question.
Yeah. So I know in some of my interactions with single dads and things like that, if they ever needed public assistance, I know that they felt like almost discriminated against in a way that, if they went to get public assistance, it was almost impossible for them, even though they met income and, all the criteria. It seems as though they were shunned in a way, even down to filling out the paperwork and things like that, which is contrary to some of the single moms that I know who've walked into DHS and, I don't know where to begin. And someone takes them by the hand and say, "Okay, fill this out. This is what you do. This is the next step. This is how we get things done." They walk out, maybe not feeling the best because they had to get public assistance, but they feel better that they're getting some help. And I know I've talked to single fathers who felt contrary to, where almost like they were being punished for being a father who stepped up. So I don't know if either of you had that situation where you can briefly talk about that.
Me personally, when I had to go get like his social security card and register from school, and there was a time in the beginning where we did go look for assistance and stuff. And yeah, you're right. They just give you the packet, and it's all up to you. It's all up to you. And like I said, those were things for me. Is like, oh man, they gave me a stack of papers, this big, fill out these forms and everything. But and those can be intimidating sometimes without somebody just telling you, look, there's only the last 2 pages you need to fill out. The rest of it is just information, But you're right, even later on when I went to child support and stuff like that, you know what? I didn't feel like I did get the same treatment. It was like when it was on me to pay child support, yeah, they were making sure they got a lot. I think for the last two, I think it's been a year and a half, 2 years. When he was 17, I thought he's in high school, he's gonna need some stuff. Man, they only gave me like $60 a month. And I was like, man, how were they getting, they were getting me for, $350 it was because of the paperwork. Nobody told me, hey, fill out this paperwork and do this and do that. And but I've only been getting the $60 a month, up until he turned 18 just recently, for the last only a year. Part of me didn't fill out, I was like, I'm going to do this on my own, And
Wow.
but when it was the tables were turned, and it was the mother asking for child support, oh man, they were docking my checks. I mean, I remember one time, working a whole week, and they took almost all of it, and I got it it was like $117 for the week after they took my check.
Wow.
And I was like, how am I supposed to live on like this,
Right.
And but it was those things where, like you said, the information, they don't like help me. I didn't feel like I didn't get the help that I needed, going
Right.
into those places, like, hey, do this and do this, and, fill out this. Now I know. And that's a good question, because I have a nephew who was going through the same thing. And I kind of just, from my experience, was helping him on how to do. So my experience, and that's what I think. If a single dad comes to me, like I have nephews who are single dads now. Oh man, I sit them down. This is what we do. We fill out this paperwork, and you turn this in. Make sure you tell it. Make sure you document everything. Because I wish somebody would have told me and helped me that way. Right. And but yeah, so yeah, as far as that fair treatment, I don't think it went right. But we'll leave that in God's hands.
Yeah. All right, Terrell, did you have anything to add on that?
No, not to add on.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Hey, look, again, I thank you guys for coming on today. Again, I believe that we will probably cover some more, and would definitely like to invite you both back. And I know we had another person that was supposed to be on, and probably get a couple of other single dads to talk about it, to continue this conversation. So I just want to thank you both for what you're doing, how you stepped up to the plate, how you're taking care of your kids, and all the things that, we've only scratched the surface of some of the things that you have to deal with on a daily basis, being a single dad. So we definitely would like to commend you on what you're doing, because a lot of times fathers don't get the recognition when they are doing the right thing. Not that we got to be patted on the back or anything like that, but a lot of times we do focus on single moms, and we will, on Let's Chop It Up, we will have a segment that's dealing with single moms, because again, I grew up under a single mom. I know all the things that they go through. So not to try to cut down what's like one is better than the other, but just want to make sure that we bring out that there are some dads that are out there that are doing this, with the help of families and friends and stuff like that, but they are the primary person that is raising their children. So thank you both for coming on. Rashawn, if you got any closing remarks or anything that you like to say. No. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you both.
Hope to see you all back on here again.
Appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah.
All right.
All righty.